Yo, we're recording.
Fabulous. I'm Emily,
And I'm Chelsea.
and this is Mom Needs a Minute.
On a Sunday morning. We're not
Yeah,
okay.
it's early. I
It is.
made sourdough waffles this morning, and I could not make them as fast enough as my family was eating them.
Oh,
So,
Nolan got eggs and leftover sausage from yesterday.
Still a good breakfast.
That's what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
My chicken nugget kid only eats certain things.
He is kind of a picky eater, yeah.
He's getting a little bit better, especially
Yeah,
because
he
Michael
definitely
makes
is.
him.
Yeah,
He
he
does really
definitely
good
is
with
getting
you
better.
guys.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, by the way, he's obsessed with your chicken legs, and he will not eat them here. But he goes, Pat and Emily make better ones. I want to eat theirs. And I'm like,
Oh, no, that's just Pat. That's just Patrick.
oh, but he includes you in everything because he thinks you do it all.
That's lovely. I love that from him.
No, he likes them.
Yeah,
I don't remember how it came up one day because you must have fed it to him when he was overnight there spending
probably.
when we were. Must have been for the wedding.
Yeah, I think that's the last time he spent the night here.
Yeah, so he must have had chicken legs or something because
Yeah, maybe.
who fucking knows? But yeah, you only eat those ones.
Nice. Patrick
Yeah,
does
it's
a really
great.
good job of them, though. So,
Yeah, he does. He does.
so I can agree with him on that at least.
I know when we move into our tiny home by you guys, he's gonna cook for me all the time.
Oh yeah.
No, probably not. He'd be like, "You're over here too much. Go away."
God, I know Emily said it was okay for you guys to move out here, but fuck! It's
Oh
not what
my
I was
god.
expecting.
You and all your damn cats need to move away.
Never.
Hey, our kids would be so entertained though all the time. We'd
Literally,
probably
we
never
would
see
never see
them.
them. Yeah, never.
Mm-mm. Nope. Nolan would be like, "Hey, I got unbiological brothers now. This is fun."
Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah, we would never see them. And, well, our
Mm-mm.
gas bill would go up quite a bit, I think, because of the gas that would take to entertain them on the go-karts as frequently as they'd been on there.
Nolan is fully convinced that Patrick has not gotten gas for them, so if you just kept that going, you'd be fine.
Well, they do have gas.
Shh. You don't have to tell him that. He
That's
thinks
true.
Patrick didn't go get it. Still, I'm like, what, how many
That's
months later?
hilarious
2?
because I was gonna say, yeah, that was like 2 months ago when we told him we didn't
Uh-huh.
have gas. That's hilarious because the gas station is
Mm-hmm.
just a few miles from us, but
Yeah. Yep, but
that's
he
really
doesn't even
funny.
know that.
Nope.
He's
Nope,
just
he
fully
doesn't.
convinced that. Mm-mm.
They're just done
But,
for the year, I guess.
we'll see. We'll have to probably do it one more time.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out. Anyway,
Yeah.
why, do you need a minute? Or
Uh,
multiple minutes?
yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't really have a reason today. I am an idiot, and when I was trying to plug my computer in here for this, I have a power strip, you know, so I can have my
Yeah.
computer, my light, all that plugged in, my phone.
Yeah.
Um, and it's three prongs, and somehow in my dumb little brain here, I was trying to use the wrong like way. You know how it's like three
Oh, the
prongs,
big
right?
one. Yeah.
It's like the bottom, like the little bottom one.
Yep.
I was trying to put it in this way, so I was going with the bottom one from the other plug and the two like lines for the other plug. Like I wasn't using those same plug on this thing. Here, I'll show you. I'll
No,
show
I
you the
get what
way.
you're saying. You're putting it
Like
upside down.
I was
Yeah.
trying to put yeah, and I
Yeah,
was
you're
like,
putting it
why
upside
is
down.
yeah, and I was like, why is this not fucking going in? What is wrong with this cord? It always like I've never had this problem before. Well, because I'm putting it in the right freaking way. Not like a dumbass who can't plug her
Oh.
computer in apparently.
Sundays is not a good day for us.
It was yeah, it's been
Mm-mm.
yeah.
Nope. Did you take your medicine today?
No, I did not.
Yeah, well, that'll do it. I purposely took mine this morning only,
I
just to
should
make
have.
sure that I just get so fidgety if I don't take it. And yeah,
Well,
fidgety
that's
and just really
agitated.
tired.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I should have taken it. We'll see how this goes today, and maybe I'll have Patrick bring it in for me. Take
I
it live
take
on camera.
yeah. There you go.
Actually, I think I'm gonna have to do
Um
that really quick.
yeah, I had to switch mine. I take one in the morning and one in the afternoon now because they never have my dosage. Because of the
That's frustrating because of the
what is it? Why are we
shortage.
blanking on this?
Because of the Adderall shortage.
Yes, that word. Yeah. But it's only on the extended release. Because the ones I have now are fine. And I'm guessing it's because kids can't take it throughout the day.
Yeah.
So that's it. Kids, everyone starts going back to school and they only want to take it once a day, which is fine. I'm fine taking it twice. I actually prefer it.
Maverick takes his twice. Yeah, he gets his at lunch.
So he must do the same thing as me.
Yeah, he takes one in the morning and then one at lunch.
That's what I do, and I like it a lot more. It lasts a lot longer in the afternoon, which is what I need after work.
Really? I hated it when I was doing that. So I just take the extended release. Yeah.
I like it. I feel like when I was on the extended release, I'd get home and instantly just sit down and want to do nothing because I can't get myself motivated.
Are you ready for a story?
Can I tell you my minute?
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Reason minute
oh my God.
meeting.
Yes,
wow.
I forgot.
Words are hard.
I forgot. Chelsea, why do you need a minute?
And I even had them all written down. I was so prepared. Okay, so actually one of them's not really like a reason why I need a minute. It's more or less a follow-up of one of the other episodes why I needed a minute.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Okay. You know the medical bill situation?
Yep.
Yeah, they're clearing that up.
Good.
Yeah, thank God. I emailed the person that Kendall got the email for because they never followed up with me.
Yeah.
So I shot them an email and I was like, hey, got any update on this? And then they apparently did. They just never said anything to me or did anything. Because as soon as I got that email, I could go into the next day, I guess, I could go into my insurance, the online portal. And yeah, and it's already pending.
Oh, that it's being cleared up.
A new claim. So that's funny. I'm really glad that I reached out because it never would have fucking happened then.
Seriously.
But anyway, yeah, so that's good to go now, thank God.
No kidding, because that was ridiculous.
Yeah, they had to contact the provider and see if she ran the test. And I'm like, don't have to freaking contact her. I know she didn't.
Well,
but anyway,
have to I don't know. Wouldn't it be in the medical? I don't know. That's stupid.
Would there be results?
Yeah, you would think.
That's my main thing. I'm not stupid. I think she thought I was an idiot when I was in there, but whatever. I might have been. But anyways, yeah, so that's done. But then, okay, my actual reason why I need a minute, it really hurts my heart. I'm pretty sure my cricket's broken.
Oh no, what happened?
Yeah. It won't, I can get it to start cutting.
Yeah.
But it won't move. It won't go back and forth. It won't go anywhere else besides one spot.
Oh, that's not great.
No. So I read online and it said that it could possibly need a new blade, which I kind of believe because I've never switched it.
But it still feels like it should be at least going back and forth, even if it needs a new blade. Yeah. I think a new blade just sounds like it would be whether or not it cuts all the way through, not necessarily the ability to actually run it through. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought that was weird too, but I was like, I'm kind of willing to try anything before I call it quits on there because I really like having it. But I also can't afford a new one, so if I can try to fix this one, that's going to be my goal.
Yeah, I wonder if it's something with the little motor that's in there.
Maybe, but it's still when it starts up, they do the back and forth thing.
Yeah.
It still does that.
Oh.
It still moves.
Oh.
Other than when it's cutting. It's really, really weird.
That is weird.
So I disconnected it. I made my computer completely forget about it and then reconnected it. Didn't work. I cleaned it out. didn't work.
Hmm.
So then I Googled it and it said I needed a new blade or the mat could be too dirty, which also could be a possibility because I'm cheap and I keep using the same dirty one.
I've heard
Oops.
I heard that Windex is helpful though. If you spray it with Windex and then take one of those like dish scrapers, that helps to get it
Hmm.
like clean it off. I've done that before with
That's what
mine.
I should do. I should do
Yeah,
that
I've done that with
actually.
mine
I should
before.
try that.
And then it's stickier again too.
Hmm. I should try that.
Mhm. Yeah, maybe it's just not like
Yeah.
reading that it's in there.
That's what I'm kind of thinking is that it's not registering because either the blade is too dull, which I have never replaced it. And I've had it for 4 years, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so I mean that could make sense. And then the the mat is definitely dirty, so that also could make sense.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm really hoping it's all these little things that could be causing it
Yeah. Thank you.
because I really don't want it to be broken. I really like using it,
Yeah. Yeah, that would
but
yeah, honestly, I would just I guess at that point I would try just changing the blade and cleaning the thing off.
yeah, I'm going
Go
to.
from there.
I will see what that does, and yeah, if anything, I can probably reach out to troubleshoot,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, to the company and see if they can have any ideas. But
Yeah, and I mean
I was really,
honestly,
really
that's probably the
sad.
best bet too.
Yeah, trial and error, and then if it doesn't work, then I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
But I'm really sad about it, to be honest.
That makes me sad for you. You can always just come and use mine.
True, I could.
Mhm. Or just send me what you want me to
Yeah,
cut and I'll cut it out and bring it into town or whatever.
yeah, true. We'll
Yeah.
see. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I can fix it.
Yeah.
But I think I kind of thought I needed a new blade a while ago because it wasn't fully cutting how I wanted it to, but then it would at the same time.
Those blades aren't too terribly expensive though either, so.
No, no, because I already have like the housing or
Mhm.
whatever. So all I need is the actual blade.
You know what? I might have an extra one. After we're done, I'll look and see if I have an extra one, and then I can bring it into town for
Okay.
you on Tuesday or Monday.
Okay.
The boys and I have a dentist appointment tomorrow, so we'll be in town tomorrow.
Oh, there you
But
go.
yeah, I'll look and see if I have one.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get one and I just haven't.
Okay. Well, I'll do that
I'm
after we're done.
putting. Okay. All right.
Oh,
Now I'm ready
now
for
you're
a
ready for
story.
a story. Yay.
I just needed to talk about that because my heart hurts.
That hurts my heart for you too, because like,
Oh
man, that
God.
sucks.
How am I supposed to label everything without
I
it?
know, right?
Damn.
Before I start the story here, I'm not sure how many parts it's going to be. It is going to be quite a long series. Like I'm personally thinking between like maybe between 3 and 4 episodes. And it's so long and chaotic that if I leave out certain pieces, it feels like you're not going to understand why this person is the way they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have done a ton of reading on serial killers. My bachelor's is in criminal justice with an emphasis on like criminology and forensic psych and all of that, right? And I never really came across this guy through any of that, which kind of surprised me. And I think you'll see why here in a little bit. But um, he now lives rent free in my brain, and I have to tell, like I have to get it out. Okay, so outside of that, I'm gonna have to give every single trigger warning under the sun. So if
Oh
there's
boy.
anything that's truly upsetting and you cannot stand it, I fully understand. And don't listen to the rest of these episodes or anything because I have mentions of things such as, but not limited to, child abuse, sexual assault, child sexual assault, murder, arson, robbery, burglary, pirates, Yeah, it's just really everything under the sun here for this guy. And so if you don't want to listen to all of the episodes, I don't blame you. I don't blame you because it gets really bad.
Oh boy.
You have to listen though, Chelsea. But
Yeah, I was gonna ask, can I tap out and I'll just like edit it later and
yeah, just take some
listen
sound
then.
clips. Take some sound clips.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. No way. Tell me more about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So all of that being said, I think it's safe to say that Carl Panzram is one of the meanest people that I have ever heard of. And I'm surprised that he is not more well known, to be honest with you, within like the true crime serial killer kind of sphere.
Yeah,
So,
I've never heard of him.
yeah. So I'm really surprised that he's not more known because he's a
Weird.
yeah. And so originally I was just going to be like I was going to focus on his actual crimes. But like I said, I couldn't not give his background because his whole life is essentially just one big true crime. Like from the day that he was born, I'm like, so now that all of that is out of the way, let's go ahead and learn about Carl here, right?
Oh boy. Yep, I'm ready.
Carl was born on June 28th, 1891 in East Grand Forks, Minnesota. He was born, yeah, East Grand Forks. He spends a lot of time in Minnesota and stuff, like around that area.
Holy shit.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so he spends a lot of
Now
time in
you
like both Minnesota and North Dakota.
you got me very interested even more now. Let's go.
Um, so he was born to German immigrants named Johann or John Gottlieb Panzram and Matilda Elizabeth Lizzie Panzram. So now in different sources, it does say different things about his siblings. He wrote his own like autobiography called Butchering Humanity, and I would not I've read it obviously, but I would not suggest reading it unless you're ready for his own words as far as how some of this shakes out.
Jesus
He's
Christ.
he's pretty descriptive in here. So I wouldn't read this one if I didn't, or this one either. This is called Kill 'Em All by Ryan Green, and this is a good like representation of his life. And this one is good too. And then I have this one that I'm not going to name because I'm not a fan of it so far. It's fine. It just doesn't have, in my opinion, this one looks like it was like more of like a sophomore writing a paper about him and somehow got it published, in my opinion. And like the dates are off, and like these two, Ryan Green's and Carl's himself, their timelines, their dates, everything kind of lines up. So that's why I'm more inclined to believe this one over that one.
Okay.
But anyways, and Google is obviously a huge thing, but as far as like my information is going, but so in the book that he wrote, his autobiography, he says he is the sixth of seven children, and Wikipedia corroborates that.
Mm,
Ryan Green's account in Kill 'Em All says he's the eighth and final child, and the other book that I was talking about says that he is the youngest of six. So either way, he's one of the younger children in his family, and he has either six, seven, or eight siblings. But he does in his autobiography, he states that he has five brothers and a sister. So I'm like I said, I'm kind of inclined to just go with his account as far
I
as that
would,
goes.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's like
Yeah.
he knows how many siblings he has, but whatever. So,
Yeah.
John and Lizzie, his parents, were dirt farmers, which according to Google, because I had to Google, I was like, what the
What the
hell? Are
hell?
they like just scooping dirt out of the field and handing it to people? Like, what the heck? No. So Google says it's a farmer with particularly poor soil who farms it themselves with no help from hired hands or other help at all. So it's just piss poor soil, and they don't have like farm hands or anything. They only it's like they're just their family that's farming it. So they have like really shitty farming land,
That
or
makes no sense still to call it that.
maybe dirt poor, I guess. Maybe that's where that comes from, I guess. Oh,
Maybe.
maybe. Wait,
Yeah.
I didn't put that together until this very
Yeah.
moment.
That would make
Huh,
sense, but it's still interesting.
huh. I didn't put that together until this very moment. Okay. Anyways,
The light bulb has
it
gone
really did.
off.
Anyways, at this point in time, the land was still being parceled out to like migrants in the US. So John and Lizzie, who had no experience in farming, by the way, were like, we're gonna do this. We're gonna get our little parcel of land from the government, and we're gonna be farmers, and it's gonna be like the American dream.
Mm, okay.
Which I could maybe get if they had any experience or knew what they were doing, but
Yeah, farming's not cheap or easy.
no, not at all. So, but John, that didn't stop them from trying to get this
Clearly.
dream. So basically, by the time the children could walk, they were being put to work on the farm. The
Yeah, that's
instant
pretty
they could,
standard
yep. I mean, and it's like
farming
the
families.
1890s, so it makes sense, like the late 1800s. Yeah. I mean, it
Or
sucks, but it makes
I
sense.
mean, well, in yeah, even into 19,
Mhm. Yeah, into the
honestly.
1900s. Yeah. So
Mhm.
it's not great, but so these kids were expected to, and they were working hard, like
Yeah.
tough physical manual labor.
Yeah, I remember my dad always threatening us about his childhood being a farm kid and how we had it so easy. He wasn't wrong, but being young and dumb, I thought he was. But
Of course.
yeah, no.
It's not
So
that
I
bad.
mean, yeah,
Of course.
yeah.
No.
So I get it. Yeah, that's
Yep.
definitely typical in a farming family.
Yep. So between the late 1890s and the early 1900s, the US began to implement truancy laws, and by 1918, every state had laws requiring that children attend school after the age of 5.
Mm-hmm.
So that is when John and Lizzie here decided, well, fuck, we have to send our kids to school. Which, so all of them go to school, right? Minnesota's got their law for that. So Carl's parents are fucking pissed about this, right? Because now they're losing all their day labor.
Yep.
And if he's like, obviously, he's the youngest ish of these kids, his older siblings are doing a lot of work. You know what I mean? By the time, like, they're
Yeah.
older by the time that this starts happening, by the time they have to send them to school. So they're doing a ton of the work there that is just John and Lizzie just aren't going to do, right? They're not going to do it. So they don't do it. They went about their, regular farm chores for the day, and then the kids would have to come home and still do their farm chores. And you would think that it would
Yeah.
maybe get a little bit easier because they're in school all day, but no. No, no.
Mm-mm.
John and Lizzie took it out of their sleep.
Yeah. It made it
So,
harder.
yeah. So there's nothing like being 5, going to school all day, coming home, doing tough, like physical hard labor, and yeah, so th- they're really really solid parents here in my opinion, but what
I
do I know?
can't even I can't even get Nolan to like shower because he had a long day at school. There's no way he would have survived that.
No, god no. So
No.
at this time the US was going through the worst depressive era,
Mm,
economic depression, up until the Great Depression. So this is like the worst before the Great Depression happened.
yeah.
Um, and so times were really tough. There was this depression, there's struggles on the dirt farm. And so John and Lizzie, they're in a really dark place, and stress and anxiety super, super high. So, yeah, they were obviously really stressed, really frustrated, and so the chores had to be done, and they were saved for them. And naturally, the kids were struggling. All of the kids, not just Carl, but all of the kids are fucking struggling. Carl was
Yeah.
saying that at like 5 years old, he was only getting 2 hours of sleep if he was lucky. Now,
Ick.
yeah, now I don't have to tell you how that can affect a person, especially a 5-year-old.
Oh God.
But I'm gonna, because not getting adequate sleep can lead to trouble with memory, regulating emotions, paying attention, the speed at which you process information, or coordination. And on top of that, it can be linked to things like heart disease, kidney disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, stroke, obesity, and depression.
Yeah. Sleep
So
affects a
it
lot.
really does. And so these
You gotta
kids,
get your sleep.
yeah, and so these kids are all of them are struggling
Yeah.
at this point. Especially, not to mention, it's Minnesota. So it gets really fucking cold in the dark,
Sure does.
depending on like what type of year it is, but
Well, especially because they're up north more too.
it gets really fucking
Colder.
cold. And it's the
Mm-hmm.
1890s. It's not like they can come inside and turn on their heated blanket like I have right here, and I haven't even been outside today. So, it's like they don't have a heated blanket and whatever. So they're still
And
fucking
honestly,
freezing.
the house is probably not as heated either. I mean, I remember.
Yeah, it can't possibly be as like insulated or anything like
No,
that.
it's not. I lived in a farmhouse for a solid chunk of my life, and it was not very warm in the winter, and it
Tell
was
me
hot
about
as
it.
shit in the summer.
Tell me about
Mostly
it.
because my dad never turned the AC on. I don't know if the house even had AC. I can't remember,
Well,
but
that should be a crime in and of itself, in my opinion. But
well, old farmhouse trying
hmm
to put in a AC unit into
yeah,
that. So if it didn't have it, I wouldn't be surprised. I just can't remember. We had our windows open all the time.
yeah.
But I mean,
I
winter
mean,
time, and
that's kind of how our house is too. So, like
yeah,
currently, so,
yeah,
but it's not the 1890s, and I have access to a heated blanket and actual like
yeah.
electric heat and stuff like that. So,
And you're an adult too. I mean, these are just little
this is a
kids, and
5-year-old. Yeah.
yeah,
So obviously, the lack of sleep and this nasty weather starts to quickly begin catching up to the kids, right? They're getting sick. And since um John and Lizzie here, they can't afford to take them to the doctor, right? So they just don't. And they're just like, work it out, man. So there's medical neglect going on as far as that goes, and it actually gets worse, if you would believe it. So
no, I believe it.
oh, you're not okay. Well, here we go. So he's young and he gets sick, and his farm chores would slack, so he's getting the shit kicked out of him, right?
Oh yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and as I'm sure is absolutely no surprise, the Panzerams are devotedly religious, and John is a raging angry alcoholic. So obviously, you can see that this is going to go very, very well for these kids, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Combination that could never go wrong. Extreme religion and an extreme angry drunk.
Anger.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Even without the alcohol, the extreme anger is still,
yep.
but the alcohol just induces it more.
Yeah. Yeah. So Johan or John here has absolutely no patience for the kids when they get sick. You fucking do your chores, suck it up. So drunk screaming and beatings were extremely common in the house. Punishments could be anything from beatings, as I said, to being chained up or starved. So it's
Okay.
really
Yeah.
good.
That.
Yeah, it's really good way to heal from an illness here, being chained up and starved. But what am I? So Carl is obviously starting off real hot, right, in life. Just
Yeah.
so quote from his book, he says, quote, when I was very young at 5 or 6 years of age, I was a thief and a liar and a mean, despicable one at that. The older I got, the meaner I got. So he's
I
already,
believe it.
yeah, he's already being a little shit. And like I said, I don't really blame him. I actually feel bad for the child, and that's my rule is I can feel bad for the child, but don't feel bad for the adult. And I do not feel bad for the adult in this case, but the child I do. So
Yeah.
around the time that he is like 7 or 8 years old, he manages to develop like a really awful cough that would never seem to go away. It was like a barking, like smoker's cough almost, right?
Oh, like the seal cough.
Yeah. And it never
Mm-hmm.
seemed to go away because obviously Johann and Matilda here, Lizzie, are not treating him or getting him to a doctor or anything. So it just, he's
Yeah.
also then developing a dozen or so other illnesses alongside that, right? And because of the family being so poor, they can't afford to get him any medical attention. Not that I think that they would in the first place. Um,
Nah.
so after months of him being ill with this cough and these other little illnesses that kind of pop up too, he gets an ear infection. And
Oh.
here's where shit goes sideways real bad. Um
Mm.
so he develops this insanely awful ear infection that caused him to that caused his ear to swell up like cauliflower ear.
Yeah.
Yep. And at this point it's becoming so dangerous and so bad that he ends up physically losing all of the hearing in that ear. And he
I
never
believe it.
regains any of that. But it's also getting so bad to the point where he can't walk straight anymore.
Yeah, because he's not balanced.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
so John here is like, we can't let this happen. Pray the illness away hasn't worked, so we have to figure something else out, right?
Mm.
And God knows that we're not going to take him to the doctor. So at this point, his wildly neglectful parents couldn't ignore it anymore because he can't fucking walk, which means he can't do his chores. Um, so now that it's impacting his work, his dad is like, no way, I can fix this because I've been working with farm animals. How different can this be? Um,
Quite different,
right.
actually, but okay.
What could possibly go wrong here, right? I've dealt with farm animals. I can I can fix this ear that is affecting his balance and his noggin. So
Dear God.
I was gonna try to cut this quote down a little bit and like summarize it for you, but I just can't. Um, so this is from Ryan Green's book, Kill 'Em All. So, quote, the whole family gathered around the dining room table one evening and held Carl's weakened and helpless body down as his father went to work in his ear with a kitchen knife, trying to excise the source of the infection as he would from an ulcerated cow. Are you good?
No!
Every one of his brothers had to lay on their full weight on top of Carl to keep him pinned in place as he squealed in agony and his father dispassionately sliced into him. It was only luck that he passed out from the pain before his thrashing drove the knife into his brain. Long, wet minutes later, he was roused from his slumber by near boiling hot water being poured into his ear to, quote, clean the wound. And this time, even the strength of the whole family wasn't enough to hold him down. He scrambled free, screaming at the top of his lungs, and when one of his brothers tried to creep close enough to take hold of the boy again, he was answered with the fist to the face. Carl had lost all control over his temper, since the first incision was made. His brothers would later claim that the pain had driven him into a frenzy, but the gruesome truth of the matter was that his father's inept attempt at the surgery most likely encroached on his brain, in particular, the frontal lobe, where impulse control is centered. So they think he essentially got a fucking lobotomy
Uh,
at the hands of his father,
yeah,
who wanted to heal an
but
ear
not like
infection.
a not a complete one though. If you got a complete one, he probably would have been a lot better off because you'd be dead.
You know, I think a lot of people would be better off if Carl had died at a young age, but
I think his dad is the one who.
his dad is,
I don't
yeah,
know.
his dad
His
is
dad definitely
fully
he
culpable for
responsible.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, like he. I feel like this kid would have been fine if his dad didn't do that. You know what I mean? Like as an adult, this person could have been probably a lot better off.
Yeah, because his frontal lobe hadn't been messed
Yeah.
with a kitchen knife.
Huh.
And he's 7 years old or 8, 7 or 8 at this time. Yeah, he's
I could.
little.
Yeah. So I'm right at this point, I'm already blaming his dad for whatever he does in his adult life
And you know what?
because he fucked with his brain.
You can keep going ahead. John is there's nothing redeeming about that man in this story.
No,
Okay? You can go ahead and just keep
I
hating him.
already, and I believe it. Like whatever he did to his fucking brain is, like I said, is what caused his adult actions.
Between that and the lack of sleep and just the
Yeah,
neglect and
the
abuse from being
trauma
beaten
and
and yeah, so he's doing really good. Do you
he's
see why
real fucked.
do you see why I had to do his whole life story here at this point instead of just focusing on his crimes?
Yeah, but I like when you do that though.
Yeah.
I like when you tell about who they are and then go into it
Yeah, I think it helps in my head at least it helps to understand what like why,
a
you
little bit.
know?
Yeah.
Or yeah, a little bit more as in this case, obviously his brain is being fucked with cuz he's not sleeping enough. His dad just took a knife to it, you know. So,
And
after
fucked with his
this,
ear even more.
yeah. And so he never regained hearing in that ear, which I'm
No
not
shit.
shocked. And then his
Mm-mm.
balance did end up getting better eventually, but it still was kind of wonky for like the rest of his life.
I suppose you get used to it after a while. I
Yep.
mean,
Yep. So it did get better, but it didn't like heal entirely, if that makes sense.
no shit. Yeah.
So, as you can imagine, after this incident here, every single interaction with Carl would be quite challenging. He became even more wild and violent than before. He was aggressive and he would lash out at any time that something was even perceived as the smallest insult. Anytime. You could just say, "Hey, Carl, it doesn't look like you washed your hands," and he'd fucking annihilate you. So great, great, great. So eventually, this quote unquote surgery that his father had performed on him caused a massive infection. Who is surprised? More shit in his brain, right? Because it's obvious it's in your ear. That's
I've
right there.
I really thought the boiling water would take care of that personally.
You know, they did try boiling water.
Yeah, that would have definitely.
Yeah. Yep. So
Yeah.
now, obviously, at this point, they cannot ignore this anymore, and so Carl does end up being hospitalized. So the swelling in his brain from the infection that this caused multiple seizures also. So this poor he's 8 years old and his poor brain is fucking rocked.
Already done.
Yep. Yep.
Seizures fuck your brain up so bad, especially when it's not like a health seizure, you know what I mean? Like somebody who was born with it kind of thing.
Oh, like epilepsy or something?
Yeah, I was
mean,
looking for that one.
that'll
Yeah.
fuck your brain up
That
too, but
yeah, that still does, but I mean in this case it was induced.
Induced. Yeah, induced. It was. It really was because
Yeah.
there was nothing good about this situation.
No.
So, like I said, again, feel bad for the kid. I feel bad for him because he's 8 and no, that should not have happened to him. A week of antibiotics is going to be a lot better than a month and a half in the hospital, you know?
Yeah, cheaper.
As far as like, yeah, exactly. So,
like,
one would think maybe we should have just not used our supposed animal knowledge on our 8-year-old child and dug a knife into his brain. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, I think I would have skipped that part and maybe just given him antibiotics.
You
know what I mean?
One would
they have
think
that.
Yeah. One would think that at that point even that's a better option, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know what animal antibiotics would really do to your body. But it can't possibly be as bad as your dad taking a rusty fucking kitchen knife, which I'm certain he probably, like, there's no way he sterilized that in any sense of the word.
And they didn't have dishwashers, so.
No. So this knife is not clean enough to be a surgical instrument by any means. And, yeah, so Carl, like I said, I feel so bad for him at this point because he's 8.
And then, God, I'm having I don't even know what he did in his adult. I'm sure it's obviously going to be really bad, but at that point, I'm still just like.
I feel bad for the kid.
Yeah.
And I always justify it as I can feel bad for the child because he had nothing to do with this. and this scrambled him. But I always feel bad for the child. I cannot feel bad for the adult, you know? That's how, like, because
Yeah.
he's a kid. He's a kid. He had nothing, he did not do anything to deserve this.
No. And I'm just so stuck on the fact that he probably would have been fine if his dad wouldn't have done that. You know, as an adult, there's,
I
for
don't
the
think
way
he
it
would have been
sounds,
fine. I think he would have still been a fucking monster, but I think it would have been a lot less,
less.
a lot less. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
He
convinced
wouldn't,
he would still have been a fucking monster because he was
probably.
being a shithead by the time he was 5 already, and he admitted it. He's like, I was fucking mean, and I just got meaner, you know. And so then, if he's already that awful when he's 5, he's going to be a shitty adult because he's raised by shitty adults.
Yeah.
But then this
Yeah, but I mean, he
scram
could have been
crazy,
just causing
yeah, just chaos, you know.
chaos
We're just
versus I whatever he did
there's
cause.
there's well, I mean, you can look up top at the trigger warnings that I've given, which is
Yeah,
anything
that's
under this
my.
one. So,
Yeah, I am.
yep,
I'm just guessing that
yep.
his fuck, the degree he went would have been less if this
I
wouldn't have
agree.
happened.
I don't think that if this hadn't happened and his dad hadn't scrambled his little noggin, I do think that it would be less terrible. He would still be terrible,
Yeah.
but less
Oh
so,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Ugh.
yeah.
Fuck. Okay.
So now at this point, hospital bills are obviously piling up quite quickly because he is in there for weeks trying to undo
Yeah.
what his dad just did. And so things are going downhill at home even faster because now Lizzie and John are fighting and arguing more because now they didn't have the money before. They certainly don't have it now. So their stress and anxiety is even higher. And so shit is just really, really going awry. Um,
Yeah.
it was to the point, and oh, at this time a few of his older brothers also were trying to find work elsewhere, and they left the farm, so now they have even less help on the farm.
Oh, they let him leave?
Yeah, I don't think that
Holy shit.
I don't think the boys gave them much choice. I think they just, in my opinion, I would just bolt in the middle of the fucking night. I'm gonna go work on this farm down the road. Don't come for me, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
Yeah.
eventually John here, he just can't take it. It's just too much, and he leaves too, leaving Carl, his mother, and his sister at the farm to work the farm. Oh, and one of his older brothers to work on the farm.
At the point, the farm would be gone, in my
Uh,
opinion. But
I mean, yeah, it doesn't recover from this. So, and you know, now his mom is blaming Carl for for his dad leaving, right?
huh.
Because
Okay, that's
all
funny.
of all of the bills from him just having to be hospitalized are adding up, and that's just
Yeah.
Carl's fault. So she's now blaming 9-year-old Carl for her, or for his dad leaving her.
Of course.
So, you know, this, like I said, this poor fucking kid is just, he can't catch a break. So obviously she's taking this out on him now too, right?
Yeah.
Quote, my portion of pay. Oh, I am going to have a lot because I do have his autobiography. I'm going to have a lot of quotes in this story because I think that
Okay.
it's best. I mean, it's his story. It's best told by him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do have a lot of quotes from him in this. So,
Okay.
quote, my portion of pay consisted of plenty of work and a good sound beating every time I looked cockeyed or done anything that displeased anyone who was older and stronger and able to catch me and kick me around whenever they felt like it. It seemed to me then, and still does now, that everything was always right for the one who was the strongest, and every single thing that I done was wrong. Everybody said so, anyways. So he's already being a terror. He's had this traumatic brain injury. They don't ever call it a TBI, but I'm calling it a TBI. And he's now being taught that whoever is the biggest and strongest is right and gets their way, and whoever's smaller and weaker is the one that has to do what the other one wants. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So he
Yeah.
is, like I said, he can't catch a break, this kid. He's getting beat every day. He's like, his mom hates him now, whatever. So after his father left, like I said, his mother, Lizzie, is stuck caring for the kids at home. and the farm, which is 3 kids and her, so times are really bad now if they weren't already.
Yeah.
So Lizzie is even more neglectful and stressed, and she's getting to be more and more resentful because, like I said, it's obviously Carl's fault that he was hospitalized and all the bills stacking up and leading to John leaving. Right? That's Carl's
Hmm.
fault.
Oh, absolutely it
That's
is.
8-year-old Carl's fault. So his father, because Carl is a fucking terrorist, around his own home. His father was basically the only thing that he even had a remote chance of keeping Carl under some sort of control, right? Well,
Yeah.
now with John out of the house, Carl's unstoppable. He doesn't give a shit what his mother says. He doesn't care about any of that, right? So he is unfucking stoppable now. And he is a danger to himself, his mother, his siblings, the animals, the farm. Like, he's a
Everyone.
danger. So
Yeah.
after his dad left and he had finally healed from this TBI, he basically just did whatever he wanted, which included not going to school. And with the time that he has free to himself now, right? Because yeah, mom, I'm going to school. Blah, blah, blah. I'm doing what I have to. Fuck school. And now he's just wandering around.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like 8.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's 8 at this point still. Um, so, he's just wandering around the nearby town of Warren, Minnesota, which I believe is only like 20 minutes away from East Grand Forks. So in my head, I feel like their farm was kind of halfway between East Grand Forks and Warren. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
closer on that side because it has to be out of
Yeah.
town. So I think it's like closer. So it's less than 10, like, I'd say, 15, whatever. I don't know. So he's just
Yeah.
wandering around Warren, Minnesota. Just thinking, just concocting in his noggin, his scrambled noggin. Um, and Warren, like many places, had at this time an extremely wealthy area. And Carl thinks this is super fucking unfair. Why do these people have so much? And why did their lives seem nice? And my life is a fucking train wreck.
Shit
And
show.
I keep getting the shit kicked out of me. I have nothing because we have no money, so we don't have all these possessions, like whatever. And so he wants these things, and he decides I'm gonna fucking take them. That's mine now. So this is all what's going on in his, like, your fucking brain isn't even fully developed, even on a good 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Your frontal lobe doesn't fully develop
Mm-hmm.
until you're in your 20s. I'm pretty sure.
I
So
think it's yeah, I think
I
it's
want to say it's
30s for
like,
guys.
is it really? I didn't know.
I think
I
it's
guess I don't
30s for male. Okay,
know.
I'm gonna
Yeah, I didn't look it up but yeah. So his little noggin is just fucking scrambled, and now he's like, and he's not being controlled, and his mom has lost control completely, and so he's wants these things, and he's like, I'm gonna fucking take them, right? So Carl's first run in with the law comes in 1899 when he was only 8 years old. Want to guess why he was arrested?
stealing?
He was arrested and jailed for being drunk and disorderly.
Oh.
One of his older brothers had, before they left, had taught him how to pick simple locks, and Carl had been stealing all the liquor that his dad had locked up.
Nah.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. And especially, like, his dad had left home now and just left it there, so, it's not like his dad's gonna say anything or know about it.
Fair game,
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, he's 8, so bad choice, Carl, but we've all seen that this is not gonna go well for Carl.
Nah.
So his father leaves home, and so eventually this stock of booze at the house does dry up because his mom doesn't drink, I don't think. So she is not buying more to keep locked up, Um, so like I said, I don't think she drank. I never saw anything that said that she did or didn't either way. But
Well, even if she did, it couldn't have been that bad for him to note it.
yeah, and
Yeah,
so
she could have been a casual.
yeah, and or like either way, she is not buying, say, enough to fulfill Carl.
Supply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
this stock dries up. So then at this point, Carl has been drinking so heavily and for so long that he is becoming physically dependent on it.
He's addicted.
Yes, at 8. So what he does now, because there's no more at home, he starts wandering his little 8-year-old ass into town and wandering into the local bars and getting the patrons there to buy him alcohol, which they did because they thought it was fucking hilarious to watch a drunk little 8-year-old stumble around. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So now it's not only his parents that are failing him, as far as adults go. It
So,
is the patrons of these bars that he would wander into that would supply him with this stuff because they think it's funny to watch an 8-year-old. And like I know in the 18, 19, like early, late 1800s, early 1900s, they didn't have the same research and knowledge as we have about what alcohol does to your brain or what
yeah.
goes on up there, especially as far as, but developmentally or whatever. But still, it's like you can't
Yeah,
do that.
and at that point 18 I think was still the legal drinking age.
Probably.
I think. I think it
Well,
was. I
I
can't
may have been even younger,
I
probably. I don't remember when
I'm
drinking, like, the minimum ages came in, but I really feel like it's later than you think it is. You know what I mean? I feel like it was
yeah,
more recent than I, but I could be wrong.
1984.
Yeah, I told you it was a lot later than you think. Like, it was certainly not in place in the 1800s or the early 1900s.
Yeah.
So his drunken disorderly arrest here came from them finding him brawling with an older boy out in the gutter.
What the fuck? Really?
Yeah, so yep. So all the patrons in the bar totally fine. They didn't even question them. They just took Carl in because he's drunk and disorderly. But fuck them.
Yeah.
The people that are giving him, that's fine. It's fine to give an 8-year-old booze because it is funny, I just want to be very clear. I don't think that's funny at all. The sarcasm was heavy in that. It is funny. So
In Minnesota, it was raised to 21 in 86.
yeah, and that's nearly 100 years after he was born.
Jesus.
He was born in 1891. So
I didn't even, yeah.
yeah.
Weird. I
So
didn't
this
even.
is this is 1899 here, the year that we're talking about. So yeah, it was
Yeah,
later
I
than I
just.
thought it was, or than
Well,
it's more recent than you expect it to be.
yeah, I mean, it was lowered and then raised to 19 and then raised to 21. That is
Mhm.
insane.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, like I said,
anyway.
obviously they don't really realize the effects that all this alcohol is going to have on an 8-year-old's brain because they don't have that research, as like we do now. But it's not good. I feel like even in the
No.
1800s, that that's not good.
And the alcohol back then also had to be a lot more.
Stronger.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
not.
I would
It
think.
wasn't as portioned.
Yeah, I would certainly think like fucking pirate or not pirates, cowboys. You see the cowboy
Yeah.
bars and whatever in those old movies. Like they're just pouring
Mm-hmm.
whiskey in like a fucking tumbler, essentially.
Yeah, and they're making that shit at home, and it's
Yeah,
not going to
it's
be
not
how.
regulated at all.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, so this is obviously again really really awesome for Carl's little noggin. So after Carl's been arrested for this fighting, and they released Carl back to his mother, and obviously he just keeps drinking.
Yeah.
Quote, alcohol made his, oh, this is from the Ryan Green book, so I will go back and forth between the two books as my quotes. So if it sounds like he's talking, then it's his book. If it sounds like, say, I use the word he or his, then it's Ryan Green's book, and we will link these. They're both, in my opinion, they're both very good, but they are both
Okay.
pretty graphic. I'm putting in as much information as I think is necessary for the story, but I am leaving out the really rough bits. So if you want to read them, go ahead. I would not suggest it unless you're ready for like graphic descriptions and like of violence and all of that stuff, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, so quote, alcohol made his painfully unfair life seem less unfair, and it quickly became a necessity for him to get through the day. The only negative effect of the alcohol, beyond the hangovers that were dwarfed by his regular headaches, because obviously he has regular fucking headaches because of this TBI.
And I'm assuming that the alcohol numbs that.
Uh-huh. And yeah.
Until the morning.
Yep. And so he's obviously getting these hangovers if he's drinking this much at this age, this often. He's obviously getting fucking nasty hangovers.
Yeah, he's
And he
getting
already
nailed
has these
with it.
headaches from the TBI. So, the only negative effect of the alcohol beyond the hangovers that were dwarfed by his regular headaches was the lowering of his inhibitions. Between his now altered brain from his father's attempt at the ear infection, his already violent temper, his father leaving, who was. Wait, did I? Oh, I've. Oh, okay, so hold tight. Was the lowering of his inhibitions. End quote. That was the end quote. This is me now. So, between his now altered brain from his father's attempted surgery, or at the ear infection, his already violent temper, his father leaving, who was the only one that had a chance of keeping Carl under control, the lowered inhibitions from the alcohol, his mother's neglect and anger, it's pretty easy to see how this kid begins a hard downward spiral, you know?
Yeah.
So his entire childhood, um, at the very least, up until, he's a drunk 8-year-old brawling in the streets with an older kid, his life has obviously been extremely, extremely difficult and filled with abuse and neglect and just from everybody that is around him.
Yeah.
I just want to point out we are an hour in and this kid is only 8 years old. So Carl, now at home, again drinking, he's obviously back into the habit of skipping school and wandering around and essentially scoping out the nice neighborhoods of Warren that he had found earlier, right before his arrest, for things that he can steal. And now, obviously, he's added alcohol to the mix, and like I said, his inhibitions are super low, because of the alcohol. And so now we're gonna forward from till he's about 11, okay? Because this is from the arrest at age 8 to 11. He was all stealing and causing all sorts of chaos and mayhem, from those ages, but there's not a ton about those little years here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So 9 and 10 are kind of just, he's chaotic, he's violent, he's a thief, he's mean, he's just a terror, he's drinking, he's just a terror. But there's not a whole lot that happens in those 2 years or so. So the next time he encounters the law was when he was 11, and he is arrested again, for once again being a little drunk shit. So he's been arrested twice for being drunk in public. Law enforcement is starting to get real fucking tired of him already at this point, right?
Yeah.
Because like I said, there's not a whole lot of information between the ages of 8 and 11 here, and 9, 10, whatever, where there's an, but he was still getting in trouble. He was still trying to steal things. He was still getting caught, and they had to keep bringing him back to his mother,
Yeah.
Especially if he's truant from school and those laws are already in effect. So he's supposed to be at school, so they're going to pick him up if he's not, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But his next arrest comes when he was 11, and he is a drunk little asshole. Okay, so here is where we he's still a child, and I do still feel bad for him because he's 11 and he does not deserve the treatment that he is getting from the adults in his life. Okay?
Yeah.
But this is the point where I feel bad for him, but it is kind of starting to flip a little bit because he is 11 and he is getting older and he does know right from wrong and he does have that ability. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is kind of where I still feel horrible for him because he is 11. He's still a child. He's still younger than my kid, and he doesn't deserve the treatment that he's getting from the people in his life. However, this is the point where it's like, okay, well, you could have gone one of two ways here, Carl. And you chose the path that you shouldn't have chosen.
Yeah, but then again, if you are not actually getting in trouble, if something's not actually happening to you to stop you from wanting to do it, you're not going to stop.
Well, we're going to get into that real quick here. So,
okay.
He gets arrested for the third time, still 11, because he broke into one of the wealthy homes that he had been scoping out in Warren. And in that home, he stole a cake and some apples. And as he's standing in there, well, he's probably not getting the nutrition that he fucking needs either.
No.
No, God, no.
Yeah.
So he's not eating, or not eating well, anyways. So he steals this cake and some apples, and I'm sure it's, because he was fucking hungry.
Yeah.
But then, as he's standing in there looking at what else he could possibly take, he sees a, quote, great big pistol. And he's like,
Shit.
there it is. There it is. I want that. And he takes that too. And now he's like getting home. He's like, I got a fucking cake. I got some apples. I got a big old pistol. What could possibly go wrong? So the police are called, obviously, and it takes them about 30 seconds to realize that this is Carl's doing. Like, they know Carl at this point, like I said. And so they're like, this is his doing. And just a few hours later, they're knocking on Carl's door here. So they're super duper annoyed with Carl by this point, and they decide that they are going to make an example out of him amongst the other hooligans in the area. And I know there's other hooligans. It's 1902. Like, there's hooligans. So in 1902, at this point, he is now being sent to the Minnesota State Reform School in Red Wing, Minnesota.
Oh.
And quote, right there and then, I began to learn about man's inhumanity to man. End quote. He's 11. I feel like I have a hard time just envisioning an 11-year-old at this point. I feel like he should be at least like early 20s after all the shit that he's gone through. But no, he's 11. So I feel like I have to keep reminding myself that he is 11 still.
He's a child, yeah.
So the Minnesota Reform School was a, quote, Christian facility built around the principles of discipline and purity through flagellation, end quote.
Ooh.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, because I did look it up, flagellation is the act of whipping or beating with implements such as rods, whips, or switches. Super good. So we're going to beat the shit out of you to beat the evil out of you.
Yeah.
Solid logic. On the word of Christ. God told us that we have to beat the shit out of you in order to
get the devil out
of you. God told us.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Which tracks for the time. I'm not saying, but
it does.
So this place, as we can see, is not going to go well for Carl, right?
Nope.
No. So Carl is, like I said, he's only 11 when he is introduced to the warden of this facility, who insists the children in his care refer to him as father, which is disgusting to me. I mean, I suppose as long as it's, what is it, Catholicism when it's, is it Catholics that's father?
Nope, Catholic.
Catholic is father, right?
Catholic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So father here is also a 1000% massive pile of shit. Okay. If you see a person and you're like, that is shit in human form, it would be this guy. Okay. Oh. So another big trigger warning here. I am going to put this one right here because I'm sure you can use your imagination, because it is a school like this and it's the early 1900s. But this is it's warning for more child abuse, which obviously the whole story has been so far. But really child sexual abuse. And like I said earlier, I would really like to skip a lot of Carl's story because it is really tragic, and I do feel bad for him. And but I really do feel like this stuff does lend to who he is. So like I said, I want to skip a lot of this, but this specific part is a huge part of why he turns out the way he turns out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it does.
So if anybody struggles with listening to things like child abuse or child sexual abuse, this is where, specifically child sexual abuse, this is where you're gonna want to stop for the rest of the episode, and we will just see you in the next topic because it's not going to get better as far as that goes from here on out. So George Mann is the name of father, George Mann. He brings Carl into his office on day one and begins to ask him like the questions, basic questions to get him all situated in the school, right?
Yeah.
Quote, he began the oral examination by asking me my name, parents, habits, schooling, home life, and history of my associations. He asked me if my father was insane. Was he a drunkard? Was he lazy or industrious? He asked me if my mother was a prostitute or a drunkard. Was she educated or ignorant? And then after asking me all of these questions and explaining in detail just what each question meant and all about it, so he does end up asking Carl about his homosexual tendencies. And because Carl, living on the fucking farm, has no idea what homosexual or homosexual sexuality means. He has no idea what that means.
Yeah.
Because he's 11. He's
No, and he's still
11.
young.
He's a child.
Yeah.
He has no idea. And obviously,
That
they're
is-
not as open in the 1900s, early 1900s, as we
Mm-mm.
are today with sexuality.
Yeah.
Especially same-sex sexuality. Like,
Yeah.
another little warning here is I'm going to use words that he uses for certain parts. So I am not trying to be offensive by saying using some of the language that I'm going to use. But as I said, it is his autobiography, and so I feel like he is the one that's best to tell the story, if that makes sense. So if I offend anybody,
definitely.
I really apologize. I do not mean to. So I hope nobody takes it that way. So after asking me all these questions about his homosexual tendencies and stuff, right? And explaining in detail just what each question meant and all about it, he then stripped me naked and began my physical examination, looking to see if I was lousy or had any kind of sickness or disease. So, as we can see here,
that ain't normal.
Shit's gonna go awry, even more. So now Carl is fully naked in this grown man's office, and man is making a big production out of examining him, specifically his penis and rectum, very, very carefully for any, quote, signs of sinning. He was then asked if he had ever committed fornication or sodomy, or had sodomy committed on him, or if he had ever masturbated. And like I said, he has no idea what any of this fucking means.
He's 11.
Yeah. And so he has, like I said, he has no idea what any of these words mean. But that doesn't matter because man, what is it, George Mann? He has no problem showing Carl physical examples of the things that he meant. So he spent well over an hour in the closed office. So while neither book that I'm reading here for this describe in any detail what he did to him,
thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
I'm sure your imagination can go just as wild as it can at this point, you know, as far as what happened behind that door with the information that we do have. And like I said, he's 11. I feel so bad for this kid. Because the adults in his life are just failing him one after another. There's no adult in his life that I've ever read about that has, well, there's one, but he's way down the line. But there's no adult that is ever in his life, especially his childhood, that is not a monster to him. So he's being taught this now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, to him, adults are just not trustworthy.
It goes back to being the biggest and the strongest and getting what you want from the smaller and the weaker. And that's how he's seeing it. And it just keeps getting drilled into his head that the bigger, the stronger you are, the more you can get from the smaller and the weaker. And it just keeps embedding itself into his head because he is not getting a fucking break. No. So the boys at the school were taught to pray when getting out of bed in the mornings. They said grace at every meal. They had Bible lessons before bed, and they had to pray before bed. Sunday school is obviously a big part of their weekend, right? Carl really wasn't highly educated or educated at all because he had continued to skip school, right? So reading and writing were very difficult for him. And so for, like, say, his Sunday school or just schooling during the week was extremely difficult for him. And every single time that he struggled with his homework, he would get whipped and beaten, obviously.
Yeah, because that's going to make him smarter.
Yep. That's going to help. Like, okay, he can't read because he's 11 and he's really never gone to school with any sort of consistency. And even if he, say
Yep.
even if he was at school, there's no way that this kid was participating in anything at school. He was not paying
No.
attention at all. He's looking
No.
out the window thinking about the next house he's going to rob or something. He's not, or when he's going to get his
Mm-hmm.
next drink. He's not focusing on
Yeah.
school. He has no idea. So, again, a system has failed him.
Yep.
So, quote, during the first year I was there, I used to get a beating every Saturday night and sometimes 3 or 4 more during the week for doing something I wasn't supposed to do or for not doing something I was supposed to do. Oh, yes, I had plenty of abuse at this school. Yeah, like I said, it's another system that's failing him.
Yeah.
Um,
It's fucked up.
yeah. So, and in different sources, either way, okay, it was either the second day he was there or one of the other days within that first week that he was there, right?
Yeah.
One of the officers at this school, takes Carl, to introduce him to what was called either the paint shop or the painting room, based on different sources. So I will refer to the paint shop and the painting room interchangeably, just depending on what I'm reading or whatever. So, Carl is expecting this place to be some sort of job because obviously, like, they are going to put these kids to work keeping the school running, cleaning, cooking, whatever. They're going to have these kids doing this. And this school
Yeah.
is for children up to the age of 18. So I want to say it was like 6 to 18 years old. But there's a big range of ages of the other children that are here too. And they're all going through just the same awful fucking horrible shit, right? That
Yeah.
Carl is being subjected to. But okay, so Carl is expecting this paint shop to be some sort of job, right, around the school, right? Painting fences or walls or whatever. And this is just where all the shit
Yeah.
is. He could not be more wrong. You want to take a guess why it's called the painting room?
No.
Because it was a place where they could, quote, paint the children black and blue. Yeah, it was a room out in like the middle, like the far back corner where there's no other buildings. There's no, like, it's just surrounded by trees. Like, it's not near the road or anything. So it's basically a place where the kids can get out there and get the shit kicked out of them, and they can scream as loud as they want and nobody's going to hear them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely educational.
Yeah, it's helping, right? None of these boys had any terrible backlash from any of this abuse. None of them. None of the children
Nope.
at this school.
Nah.
This is why they don't have schools like this anymore, by the way.
Yeah. Seriously.
So, quote, they used to have a large wooden block which we were bent over and tied face downward after first being stripped naked. Then a large towel was soaked in salt water and spread on our backs from shoulders down to knees. Then the man who was to do the whipping took a large strap about 1/4 inch thick by 4 inches wide and about 2 feet long with a handle on it about 2 feet long as well. This strap had a lot of little round holes punched through it. Every time that whip came down on the body, the skin would come up through these little holes in the strap, and after 20 or 30 times of this, the little blisters would form and burst, and right there the hell began because the salt water would do the rest. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And this was a regular beating for Carl.
Jesus.
Yeah. The first time Carl was exposed to this, the warden came in to enjoy Carl's pain. So there's the officer or tormentor, whatever, that's actually doing the whipping, and then Father George Mann, warden, whatever the hell he is, comes in to enjoy Carl's pain. And every single time Carl would like yelp in pain or make a noise or wince or show any sign of being in pain, the warden just got more and more excited in a way that you shouldn't be getting excited about in the below the pants area. So what does Carl do? He shuts up. Carl shuts the fuck up. He refused to make a single noise. He refused to wince. He refused to give them any sort of entertainment or whatever out of this, right? And so this pissed them right off because they're not getting the reaction from him. Yeah,
Enjoyment.
they're not getting the reaction
Yeah.
from him that's going to give them that enjoyment. So they're all fucking pissed right off. And he does not change this stance the entire time he's at the school. He stays
Oh my
fucking
god.
dead silent and just keeps pissing off the guards and stuff at the school. So these punishments were, like I said, to beat the evil out of them, but instead it really seems to have just driven home the evil within Carl. It
Yeah.
cemented it at this point.
It
This
fed it.
Yes, this is now fully he was terrible before this, but this is fully part of him now. This is his soul now. So the boys in this reform school were meant to work on school or work on schoolwork for half of the day or church work depending on the day, and then they would work around the school for the other half, like I said about the paint shop thing, but it's not. But so they would do like kitchen duty, they would do laundry, they would do cleaning, they would do kind of whatever around the school in order to keep it running, which I guess at that point does kind of make sense. You want to put a little bit of responsibility on them to teach them a little bit of responsibility. I wouldn't suggest beating them if they don't do it, but who am I? What do I know?
Yeah.
I'm not a child psychologist or anything, so what do I know? And so here, Carl is a problem again because he has no notable skills. He can't read, he can't write, he can't cook, he doesn't know how to fucking clean because he's never cleaned a day in his life. All he knows is fucking hard manual labor. So he is.
Yep.
They're like, I don't know what department to put you in. So they were like, let's try the kitchen. You can serve the food. He's not making it, but he's serving it essentially.
Okay.
So he was set up then to make the evening meals for all of the or to like make the evening meals for all of the officers and the wardens. And Carl now, he's fucking pissed. He's so pissed at all of the abuse that he has endured, and frankly, who can blame them or blame him at this point? He's just over it.
Yeah.
Right there, I began to get a little revenge on those who abused me. When I served the food to some of the officers, I used to urinate in their soup, coffee, and tea and masturbate into their ice cream or dessert and then stand right beside them and watch them eat it. They enjoyed it too because they told me so. I wish they could read this now. End quote. So.
They kind of deserved it, though.
Yeah, I can't say that. I am kind of happy that he gets this small form of revenge on these people because they do deserve it. They deserve worse, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
Carl, come on, buddy. Again, the evil is just being driven even deeper and deeper into him.
Yeah, he's just getting more mad.
Especially now because he knows that it feels good to get revenge on these people. He knows now.
Yep.
He's now seeing it feels good to get revenge on these people that are abusing me. And at this point, he already thinks the bigger and stronger you are, the more you get from the littler and weaker. And revenge feels good. And, and he's being now sexually abused. And, it's just the evil is being bored into his soul.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So after this, he's obviously messing with their food for a while at this point, right? And, once you are doing something for so long, it kind of starts, you kind of gain a tolerance for it. And so you want to get bigger and better and more, right?
Yeah.
At least that's what Carl wants. That's what Carl wants in a big way. So he attempted to put rat poison in George Mann's pudding for dinner one night, but he did get caught, and he was very quickly removed from kitchen duty at that point. So he's 11, and this is his first attempted murder.
Oof.
Now, like I said, like we just said, I can't really blame the kid for wanting to get revenge on this guy, but he's 11 and this
Yeah.
is attempted murder.
Yeah.
So then they sent him to the band, because of course the school has a band, and he says he learned one note and refused to learn another. I don't know what instrument he played, or I don't know anything. Maybe he just hit a fucking drum. I don't know. He played one and refused to play anything else. And so they're like, well, fuck,
Yeah.
he's not going to do this either. Like, he's not going to do this either. So we have to figure something out to get to this fucking kid, because he's not giving the officers or the wardens any form of gratification as far as like
Mm-mm.
any of this goes. He's not miserable.
Yeah.
He's not
He's.
miserable, and he's not
Uh-huh.
showing any sign of being upset. He's just there. And that's not what they want. They want him to be miserable. They want him to be in pain. They want this to be a punishment, and he is not giving an inch on that.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, okay. So now, after this, he's sent to work in the laundry room. And I want to make it clear that the laundry room and the paint shop are in the same building.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So they're both way back there. So he's now sent to laundry. And once a week he goes in there to do work on laundry, and then the other time he is cleaning. He's like on the cleaning crew, right? Mopping and shit like that. And like I said, he is not giving anybody an inch on this. He's just there doing what he's got to do. And especially with shit like laundry and cleaning, he doesn't know how to do them, but he is used to that hard physical manual labor. So it doesn't
Yeah.
bother him at this point. It doesn't bother him that he can't sleep. It doesn't bother him that he has to do like this manual labor. It doesn't, because he's done it for his entire life.
Yep. Yep.
And this is, like I said, this is really pissing people off. So everybody's really mad at him, and he's trying to think of another way to get revenge on these people. Which Carl has no education. He really is not but he is fucking clever, okay? He is fucking clever. Which honestly, at this point, he's gotta be, because he is trying to get out of these things. He is trying to be better than the people that are abusing him, essentially, So he has to think in a very different way than you and I would, right?
Yeah.
So, like I said, the laundry room and the paint shop are in the same building. And Carl here is beginning to try to make a plan, right? He's trying to come up with a plan. What the rat poison didn't work. What can I fucking do next? So, Carl, by not wincing, whining, crying, anything, etc., when he was being punished, it just keeps pissing off the guards, wardens, officers, everybody who's inflicting this pain. So now they're trying to come up with new ways to beat the evil out of him, because obviously these old ways aren't beating the evil out of him, so we need more and new stuff.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, so it actually, at this point, the turnover within the school is, quote, astronomical, because they are being told the expectations of what they're supposed to do, and people are like, I'm not fucking doing that. And then the ones,
And leaving.
yep, and so the guards that are there because they enjoy it, because they are getting something out of it, because they want to do this, right?
Yeah.
Because the ones that don't want to do this, the ones that won't find joy in this, the ones that aren't going to participate are leaving right away.
Yep.
And so the ones that stay are fucking evil. They're evil people.
Yep.
They want to beat children. They want to do this. It's fun for them. It's terrible. They're terrible. So, quote, no matter what they did to the boy, they could not break him. And more often than not, his painting room sessions ended not because the boy could take no more, but because his torturers had become too exhausted to continue. He's used to getting the shit beat out of him at home.
Yeah.
What are they going to do that his fucking dad didn't do, or his mom?
Exactly.
So he's like, the boy could it didn't end because he couldn't take anymore, but because his abusers had become so exhausted that they just can't hit him anymore. And I don't hit people. Just as a general rule of thumb, don't hit people. But I feel like that would take a while to get so exhausted. If you have that much anger and rage and evil built up inside you, it would take a while to get so exhausted to the point where you cannot continue.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Maybe. I mean,
Like,
I
obviously,
guess I've never had to
physically.
do it.
Well, no, I know. And I guess it would be like, say, physically taxing, like whipping,
Yeah, that's kind of what
like
I was
that.
thinking.
But it's in my head, it's like those people that say run for fun and they get really tired by mile 1, but they are like, I really want my to get to 2 miles today or whatever, and they keep
Yeah.
pushing themselves to get there. And that's in my head, that's kind of what this is. They keep pushing themselves to hurt him or to break him or beat the evil out of him, and it's not
Yeah.
working. So they're just angrier and angrier and pushing themselves more. So like
Yeah.
even past that like physical point where they're tired to the point where they are mentally exhausted is that's how
Yeah.
I that's kind of how I thought about like read this or thought it, not necessarily physically tired but emotionally.
Yeah, they're getting sick of not getting what they wanted and they just
Yeah.
gave up.
Yep.
Yep.
So now everybody's already pissed at Carl because he's doing this. Which at this point, props to fucking Carl, in my opinion. Props to
Yeah.
fucking Carl. Okay. He's still being a shithead. He's still he's still doing this, but he's not giving them a fucking inch. And props to you, bye. So the warden here, George Mann, is even angrier than he has been in the past that since he's been there, right? And so now he's thinking, I have to figure out a way to fucking break this kid. I have to. And their current plan isn't working, so now he's going to build a machine. And George Mann pays with his own money to build a whipping machine. And the whipping machine will just whip automatically forever and ever until you turn it off, basically, right?
Oh God. Yeah.
Well, so it's just automatically beating the children. The officers don't have to get involved. They don't have to get tired, et cetera, et cetera. However, there's a problem here. The whipping machine only beats in one place at the exact same, like, strength.
Yeah,
So
because it can't.
so the kids would go numb and it wouldn't be a problem anymore. So this, instead of becoming like, oh, this is the perfect
Yeah.
plan, it is actually doing the exact opposite of what they hoped because the kids are becoming numb and now none of them are having a problem with this. They're just waiting for it to be numb
Yeah.
because they can't say, you can't move spots on the back. You cannot move or like the different intensity of which you hit. You can't say hit them like light a few times and then come down hard just for the shock value at the very least. Like you can't do any of that with this whipping machine. So it is the exact opposite. But now it does it to all of the kids. And this is just not at all what they wanted. Because now
No.
all of the kids have no problem with this. And all of these other kids are like, fuck yeah, Carl. You got us this
Thank
whipping machine.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right? Well, now Carl
Mm-hmm.
is gaining in popularity at this school because he has got this, right?
Yeah.
And so now Carl is directly to blame, or at least in the warden's mind, directly to blame for the other children also not reacting. So, God damn it, Carl, once again, an adult's decision is your fault directly. Top notch, Carl. Go, Carl.
Yeah, I'm
Right?
just
And
pissing
so,
off everybody even more.
and it's always
Yeah.
Carl's fault, obviously. Like, this is not Carl's
Oh
fault.
yeah.
I want to make it very clear. This is, again, not Carl's fault
Mm-mm.
at this point yet.
No.
But he is becoming more and more popular amongst the kids here.
Which is probably not a good thing.
Yeah. So now the warden is beginning to take a special interest in what he needs to do to break this kid. And he's always like been watching or interested or like paying attention to what is happening to the kids in this school. But now he is taking a special interest in Carl himself, which is obviously fabulous. So at this point, he is now known for, quote, shuttering himself up with the boy in the painting room and adding new depths of sexual humiliation to the nightmares that he was already having to endure on a daily basis, end quote. So now he's not only being beat, but now he is being wildly sexually abused. And I have no more information as far as that goes. There's
Yeah.
nothing else as far as that goes, but he is being wildly sexually abused at this point too. Because, yeah,
Damn.
this is beating the evil out of you in a Christian school.
Wow.
This is what Jesus said. This is what God said. Like, you can't have it both
Interesting.
ways. You really can't have it both ways.
Mm-mm.
Either
No.
either the Bible and God and all of that is against like stuff like homosexuality and sodomy and stuff like that, or it's not. And so, in my opinion, not a good. The Bible isn't good example when people say that it's like against God to be homosexual, or in the LGBTQ community. You can't use the Bible for that, because apparently it's okay for an adult and a young boy, or it's okay for a man and a man, right? Because he's a grown-ass man, he knows what he's doing, and this is
A
a Catholic
child.
school. This is a school, right? This is a
Mm-hmm.
religious school. And so either the Bible says you can't be, like, say, man on man or man on child, essentially, but
Yeah.
two boys, you can't do that, or it doesn't. You do not get it both ways.
No.
So in my opinion, if you are one of those people that does not vibe with the LGBTQ community, and religion and Jesus is your choice as far as the reasoning behind that, go fuck yourself, because it's not. You cannot have it both ways.
No.
So now back to the rat poison. Remember that? So now
Yeah.
he gets caught. Like at that point, he had gotten caught, and he's being questioned regularly about that situation. And obviously, the warden, George Mann, the one that he tried to poison, is the one doing this, which is why he's so angry at Carl, right?
Yeah.
So technically, this is attempted murder, and this is his first documented time that he has ever been God, hold on. This is the first documented time that Carl has attempted to kill another human being.
Okay.
And he's 11. So now he's in the laundry and cleaning department after that, and he's like still formulating this plan, right? Obviously, killing him didn't work. So I have to come up with a different thing. Everyone at the staff here, every single staff member at this point, is literally getting burnt out just trying to break Carl. They're burning out. Which go Carl at this point.
Yeah.
So he had grown up with horrifically abusive parents who worked him to the bone and kept him extremely sleep deprived. He had been arrested multiple times. He's been beaten, and he had the brain injury from his dad trying to fix the ear infection. Honestly, what else can these people do at this point that he hasn't already endured? Especially if they are adding sexual assault or child assault, sexual assault, because he's a child, into the mix here. So what else are they gonna fucking do? He doesn't care. So Carl is just getting angrier and angrier every single time they come up with something new. He's like, fuck off. That ain't gonna work. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. I am not giving you an inch. And the entire time he is there, by the way, he does not change that stance. He holds on to that. Not once does he give them any form of victory. And like we've said, this is again one of those big moments where the stronger and the bigger you are, the more you get from the smaller and the weaker, right? He's weaker than the adults. He's weaker than the adults. He's, or he's smaller at the very least, because in my head, this is pretty mentally fucking strong. But so he's weaker, he's smaller, and the adults are getting what they want out of him again, except they're not, because he's mentally preparing himself to be stronger mentally in order to start winning these fights, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Carl goes ahead and uses this he's actually pretty, like I said, he's clever, okay? So he's using his clever little noggin and realizes that between the cleaning supplies that he is being given to clean the school and the laundry room where there is a lot of, he can come up with something here. He can use this, right? Those two things in conjunction might just be handy together, right? So, quote, I got a long, thick piece of heavy cotton string, wrapped it around and round a long, round stick, lit one end of it, and hid it in the laundry near some oil-soaked rags. That night, the whole place burned down at a cost of over $100,000. Nice, eh? And $100,000 back then, I Googled it, is roughly $3.6 million now. He's fucking jazzed because now he's ruined the paint shop. He has not just fucked with them in the paint shop, he has destroyed it and burned it to the ground. And you want to know why he didn't get in like serious trouble for that? Well, one, they don't have cameras, so there's no
No
proof
proof.
that he did it, but they all know he did it. Do you
Yeah.
want to know why he doesn't get in trouble for arson?
Oh God. Why?
Because the officials at the school at the time don't want the police involved or the fire marshals involved because they will most certainly shut down the school. So the fire destroyed the paint shop, the warden's specialty whipping machine. So that's gone. They can't prove Carl has done it without local authorities investigating. And now a lot of the
Yep.
student population, specifically the upperclassmen, are now really, really liking Carl. Because this is not just a win for Carl, it is a win for all of them because there's no fucking paint shop and there's no automated whipping machine. And so now all of
Yep.
these kids are like, snaps for Carl, right? They hate him, right? Because he's a fucking terror. He's still a terror.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. He's a terror. But this is
He did them a
extremely
favor.
redeeming. Yes, this is extremely redeeming for him. So
Yeah.
these upperclassmen who are now thrilled with him are beginning to give him ideas as far as how to get out of this place, right? How do I get out of here? Because he's been there for a while, he wants to get out, just like every kid in there. And like, places like this, there's a lot of recidivism, so a lot of them end up in there, 2 or 3 or more times, right? So a lot of the upperclassmen, a lot of the older kids are like, we have been in and out of this facility several times. I can tell you exactly how you want to get out of here, or what you need to do in order to get out of here as fast as you can. And so they tell him, just start telling them what they want to hear. You don't have to give in to the beatings, but start telling them that Jesus and the Lord has come to you and shown you the error of your ways, and just start making them believe that that it's working, that the evil has been beat out of you. You don't have to wince, you don't have to give them an inch on that, but just make them feel like
they're winning.
Yeah, make them feel like they've finally gotten through to you.
Yeah.
And they will let you out as soon as they feel like they have gotten through to you and they feel like, they've reformed you. And Carl is like, fuck, why didn't I think of that? I should have thought of that a long time ago. But now he has this manipulation tactic in his brain, right? So now he's learning how to manipulate like a fucking champ. And he gets out. He gets out by the time I believe he was 13.
Jesus.
So now he's manipulating and he's getting really good at it, and they do allow Carl to leave and go back home to his mother. As we can tell, there's no way this can go poorly, right?
Nah.
No, not at all. Yeah. So I think that's where we are going to leave part 1 here, with Carl learning that the bigger and stronger you are, the more you get from the weaker and smaller. He's learning some pretty impressive manipulation tactics. He's learning how to he's already got mentally strong. He's learning hate, and he's learning how to he's clever, he can revenge, and he's learned that if I want something, I take it. I don't have to wait to have it. I just take it. So these are all really good things to instill in a preteen boy and his little noggin. In
broken one.
Yes. And like in such a deep, deep way as it has been his entire life up to this point, nothing's going to go better. Nothing's going to get better.
Nah.
So that's where we got to part 1. I will link the 2 books that I've been using the most for this with and again, read them at your own risk. I personally, if I didn't have to read them, say for this, I don't have to read them, but I'm reading them for this. I wouldn't read them. I think that just listening to it and just hearing it would be more than enough for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I were you, Chelsea, I wouldn't read them. If you want to read them, you can. I have them and you can just borrow them, but I wouldn't suggest it.
No, thank you.
Yeah. So.
Nope. All right.
Yes. And that is Carl Panzram's tragic childhood. And we will see you next time.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.